We all know Pixar is great at making these great movies with these deep moments that are fascinating and they relate to our lives. Well, not all of them do that. Really, ever since Toy Story 3, it seems like Pixar has been in a little bit of a drought. Most of the movies in the last decade really didn't capture those moments that I was looking for. Now, there are some exceptions that are great, and they do stand out on their own, and one of those is Inside Out, which was directed by Pete Docter. Well, if you don't know who Pete Docter is, he's basically the guy that directed Monsters, Inc. and Up, and Inside Out as well, obviously. So going based off of those films, this guy has made some pretty top-tier Pixar movies, some definitely beloved and classic ones. Inside Out was clearly his last movie he made, and it was definitely probably the most ambitious movie at the time. It was the most creative, and it had such a unique take on telling a story about emotions. Well, this time, Docter is directing something even deeper and more ambitious than Inside Out. And he's basically telling us a story of what it means to have a soul. Now, this movie may be compared to Inside Out because of its ambitious ideas. However, this film goes in a different direction. The movie is more abstract with its lesson, its storytelling, and even its art. Some people might also say this movie is going to be too dark for kids. However, I disagree with that. I'm sure kids will be entertained by it. The concept may be grim at times, but I mean, it's still a lighthearted movie, and it has a lot of funny moments. Now, will kids get a full understanding of what's happening? That just depends on the kid. One thing I found great about Soul is that it wasn't predictable at all. I'll try my best not to spoil the movie, but I will say the moral was not what I was expecting. After watching the movie and going back at the trailers and all the advertising team did a really good job on not really giving away a lot for the movie. Now, as you can expect from Pixar, obviously the animation is top notch. It's very beautiful to look at. I have to give a round of applause for the animation and the art department. They did a really good job on everything, and one big feature that I thought was interesting was how each soul was different and unique, and they had their own distinct and specific look. Before new souls come to the planet Earth, they are in the Great Before. This is where they learn their personalities, their hobbies, their interests, everything about them. And the Great Before is a beautiful setting. It's got these nice, cool colors that make it feel comfortable and relaxing. There's also seems to be a softness on the screen, like a softness filter. It's more noticeable when there are close-ups. It's a nice little touch to make the setting more distinctive compared to New York, which is where our character Joe lives. In New York, the colors are a lot warmer. It seems like it's a little bit sharper compared to the Great Before, and there's a lot of lighting that gives a lot of depth. It's really beautiful. There's one scene in a subway where we watch this guy playing guitar. He has his guitar case open for money, and it's probably my favorite use of the lighting. There's just something beautiful about it. Another impressive thing about the animation is the movements of these characters. Now, it's not like they each move differently. It's more so when they're playing instruments. Joe is a music teacher. He wants to get this big gig, and he plays piano. When we watch him play piano, he's hitting the exact same notes with the music. It's very impressive to watch. And it's the same for the other characters when they play instruments. There's a kid that plays trombone. She's definitely hitting the slides correctly. And then there's also a character named Dorothea Williams who plays a saxophone. I played saxophone for 10 years. I paid attention when she was playing the saxophone. And let me tell you, that they got it right. It didn't look fake at all. You could tell when the valves are opening. She's hitting the right keys. It was really impressive. I just spit a little bit. I was getting too excited. Kudos to the team for putting that much detail into just playing an instrument. Now, Jamie Foxx plays our main character, Joe. Normally, Foxx tends to play more interesting supporting characters compared to his lead roles. There are a few exceptions, and this is one of them. Clearly, his character goes on a different journey compared to anybody else he's played. He does tend to be a little bit more animated with his voice. He has a lot more range going on, which is not a bad thing at all. It's pretty well. It's not so serious. He knows how to have his fun moments, his dramatic moments in the movie. Now, Tina Fey plays Soul number 22. I was afraid Tina Fey was only going to be used for comedic purposes. Kind of like how in Finding Nemo, Ellen plays Dory, and Dory was used for a lot of the comedic stuff. Now, she does have serious moments in that movie, and so does Tina Fey in this one. While Tina Fey may, have some comedic moments in this movie, the story makes 22 and Joe's relationship more dynamic and more interesting than what I was thinking. 22 is not just like a side character. 22 has their own important journey, their own important adventure, and it's a key moment for Joe's adventure as well. And Faye never came off as annoying, which I was quite impressed. There are also a group of counselors in The Great Before, and they make sure everything is going a-okay, and they are called Jerrys. And there is another one who's like an accountant. Their name is Terry. Their designs are inspired by Picasso. They have this 2D structure to them. They look flat and they feel flat. Every time they move, it's so satisfying to see them blend in the 3D world. It's probably one of the most impressive things I've seen from the animation department in a Pixar movie. Richard Ayoade voices one of the Jerrys, and Rachel House voices Terry. And I have to say, each of their voices fit perfectly for these characters. Probably my favorite voice acting choices in the entire movie. Their voices add a distinct personality to these characters that adds a lot of persona to them, and they're great with the line deliveries for the jokes. They seem to be a little bit dry compared to some of the other humor that we hear in the movie. They're just really great to watch, very pleasing to look at and listen to. And the music is beautiful to listen to. Half of the soundtrack is this score written by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. They're from Nine Inch Nails. They also wrote the music for a bunch of David Fincher movies like The Social Network, Gone Girl, and even Mank that came out this year as well. It kind of sounds like a more upbeat Social Network, I would say. It's very ambient and there's this pulse going on through the music. And it's very soothing to listen to. And the other half of the soundtrack are jazz pieces arranged by Jon Batiste, which is the band leader from Stephen Colbert's Late Night Show. More of his arrangements are used for when Joe is actually playing piano or there's any other form of jazz being played. It's more so used in scenes as actual part of the story, not as much as background music, but when it is used in the story, it elevates the scenes very much. I wouldn't say I have a lot of problems with this movie. I guess if I had a gripe, it would be maybe the second act tends to be a little bit slower than the first and third act. Some people might say they don't like where the direction or the story is going in the second act, but I disagree. I think it fits well with the moral and the lessons that our characters are dealing with. I just find it a little bit slower than the first and third act because we're just introduced to so many new things. In the first act, it's refreshing and it's cool to look at, and then in the second act, it's like, oh, okay, I see what we're doing now. Soul is without a doubt one of Pixar's most ambitious films yet, and it pops with these colorful moments and settings and characters that are unforgettable. It's simple enough for kids to enjoy it and understand what's happening overall, but it's complex enough for older people to really grasp what is happening. And it gets better as our characters go on this journey. Hopefully it'll win audiences over by the time the movie ends. I was already won over before the movie ended, and I was just moved by the ending actually. It's an ode to the little things in life. That's not something common you'd see about in movies today, or really in a long time. And I just found that profound to watch. If you haven't seen it yet, check it out. I think you'll like it. I think you'll be moved hopefully by the end. If not, you don't have a soul then. I'm gonna give this movie an 8.4 out of 10. All right, well, thank you so much for watching this. Let me know what you thought of Soul, if you have seen it. If you haven't seen it, do you plan on watching it? Let me know. Let me know what I should review next. I do plan on doing a best of 2020 video pretty soon, so expect that. If you liked this, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share, do whatever you want. So yeah, awesome. Well, again, thank you so much for watching. Exercise every day, stay indoors, drink your milk, and have a great day.